In politics, we too often focus on averages, the overall numbers, which even if accurate, can obscure much more than they reveal. In this period of extreme partisanship, colossal differences in the attitudes of Democrats and Republicans tell more of the story, while the voting behaviors of independents are more akin to the overall average. The Quinnipiac University national poll taken between February 11th and 14th is a great example of this partisan distinction. When asked, would you like to see Donald Trump play a prominent role in the Republican Party or not, 60% of Americans responded that they did not want Trump to play a prominent role, while 34% did. But 75% of Republicans and independents who lean Republican answered that they did want him to, while just 21% did not. Among Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents, 96% said that they did not want him to play a large role, and 3% did. And that is probably because they thought it would hurt the Republican Party. And lastly, true to form, 61% of independents did not want Trump to play a big role, while 32% did. Now, in that same Quinnipiac poll, when asked, do you think former President Donald Trump is responsible for inciting violence against the government of the United States, 89% of Republicans responded no, while 96% of Democrats said yes. And then by an 11-point margin, 52 to 41%, independents thought Trump was responsible, which is nearly identical to the 11-point split among all respondents, 54 to 43%. Almost no matter the question, the differences between attitudes of partisans on each side is enormous, but it goes to explain the behavior of elected officials. For a political candidate, one way of looking at voters is putting them in concentric circles. The circle closest to the middle is your party base, and the next circle is made up of those in your party, but maybe not quite so rock solid. Then in the outer circles are the independents who lean towards your side, followed by pure independents who don't lean toward either side. And as a result, many elected officials define their constituents as only those citizens who will probably vote for them or at least consider it. For example, the center circles. Anyone else, not so much. One can say that increasing number of elected officials are representing parties more than people, or to a certain extent, places. And that is why they do what they do. You can call it spineless if you want, but the survival instinct in humans is very strong, especially in politicians. Also, keep in mind that if a candidate loses their primary race, they may never make it onto the general election ballot. The only exception would be Senator Lisa Murkowski, who won re-election as a write-in candidate in 2010 and will benefit in 2022 from a new top 4 primary system and ranked choice voting in Alaska. Moving on though, as for those voters who aren't in the base, not only might they never vote for you to begin with, but they also tend to feel less passionately about almost everything and tend to vote in lower numbers than partisans on either side. One real-world example of this is that unless President Trump is marginalized within the GOP base, Republican primary voters next year could reenact the painful outcomes for the GOP from 2010 and 2012. In those years, the party nominated some unusual candidates in a number of states that would end up costing the party seats. We can also throw in the recent report that Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is prepared to intervene in Republican primaries next year if it looks like there is a real threat of an unelectable candidate winning the GOP nomination and costing the party a seat in the general election. Apparently, McConnell has not forgotten those races from a decade ago. All of that brings me to my final question. What are the electoral implications for the 7 GOP senators who voted to convict in the impeachment trial? 2 of them, Richard Burr in North Carolina and Pat Toomey in Pennsylvania, had already announced their retirement, so they did not have to worry about electoral implications. And then 3 of them were just re-elected in November and will not be back up for another 6 years. Susan Collins of Maine, Ben Sasse of Nebraska, and Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. One interesting note there is that Louisiana no longer has partisan primaries, so Cassidy's challenge would be in a somewhat less difficult general election in 2026. That leaves Mitt Romney, who declared his independence of worrying about such things some time ago and will not be up again until 2024. And then finally, there is Lisa Murkowski, but as mentioned previously, she will benefit from the new top 4 primary system in Alaska. Therefore, ultimately, the implications are mixed, with very few of those senators actually having to worry about the consequences of their votes in primary challenges anytime soon. The real question will be what happens to the 10 House members that voted for impeachment who are all facing re-election next year. But that is all for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please make sure to follow my personal Instagram and EP Official on all social medias shown on screen and linked in the description down below. Also, make sure to comment your thoughts and opinions in the comment section, and please hit the like button if you liked the video as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out more content from my channel here, and as always, tune in next time. EP out.